everything's got a cost, but again, the way I looked at it was that I was buying an education that's good for the rest of my life. And I think that has a lot of value. My name is Charles Lafkus. I'm 53 years old and live in Cincinnati, Ohio, and work in pharmaceutical research and development. And certainly that sometimes at times that means that's a lot of travel. Over the years, I've always been an active person, and going back to high school as a high school swimmer, granted that was a long time ago, but remained active since. But what brought me to you last summer was essentially, even though I'd been continually active, taking stock and trying to figure out where that weight came on. And despite being what I thought was healthy eating and being active, and looking for a fresh set of eyes and information that I probably hadn't made myself privy to before, for lack of a better description. I think in retrospect I think first and foremost, as I've told a number of people, that again, having been a very active person, and I mean, when I say that, I think it was 2021, 2022, I mean, I had over 1,000 miles of running in that year. Mm-hmm. And so I'll start there, is that recognizing that that's as fun as, as group oriented and fun that might have seemed, that was far more cardio than I wanted or needed. And also too, that it's not what was good for my body. But I think the other thing too, again, coming down to just from a sheer nutritional standpoint, was figuring out that, in recognizing that I was probably eating far more calories than I really thought I was, and not the right calories. And I would tell people that, okay, I thought that, for example, I'll make two examples that I love to give to people. I would cook often with avocado oil, sure, and I tell myself avocado oil is plenty healthy. But then all of a sudden recognizing that when you're taking the bottle and you're going like this, that's a lot of calories. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden recognizing that it only takes half of a tablespoon for a pound and a half of chicken. So, or something on the other hand that I like to tell people is that I love eggs. I've always loved eggs, but then I would have a couple of eggs in the morning, but all of a sudden realizing that, I was telling myself I was getting my protein, but there were far more fat calories in the yolk than I was ever recognizing. So making that conscious shift, okay, I'm now going to have one egg, but supplement the rest with egg whites. Mm-hmm. And maybe all to that point, and something that I certainly learned from you and with your feedback, is that the average diet doesn't have nearly as much protein as people think that they're getting. I think probably like a lot of people, I think it was just, that it was just simply more of whatever. So is maybe I needed to run more miles, or maybe I needed, and everything you tell, especially your Thursday night audience, you think that you're going to run more miles, or you're just going to eat less. Mm-hmm. And that's not it. But you have to sort of give yourself into the process. And I'll admit that I said I'm in project management for those listening. I like, and if not love, a process. But sometimes it's seeing the process and giving into it and giving it a chance to work. I was a member for 6 months from, I think, if I remember the exact date, I think the first day was September 24th of 2024, mm-hmm. and through early March for 24 weeks of 2025, and I lost 45 pounds.
Yeah, you crushed it.
And what's to my original goal was approximately 28 pounds, and ended up going about 17 pounds past that, probably down to my high school weight at this point. But feels so much better in the way I move, especially when I run still with my occasion with my group, and just generally the way I feel. I was laughing. I said, as I was getting dressed for this call, it was funny. I was thinking about it. Obviously you can't see it, but I've got a nice pair of dress shorts on. Uh-huh. If only to say that last summer I might have been really darn close to having thrown these or donated these shorts, only because they were such a nice pair, but I didn't fit in them anymore. And that is such a gratifying feeling.
How many pant sizes did you shrink?
Probably went from Probably just fitting in or squeezing into a pair of 36 waist at the beginning, and now it's 32s. I think for the most part, I think that the impressions that I wish I could remember how long I'd been following you before I submitted the request to say you were taking interviews and you had some open spots. I wish I could remember how long that would have been. I mean, I'm going to guess maybe 4 or 6 months or something like that. The more you talked, I mean, in some of the videos I watched, you weren't talking about making this dramatic change. Again, something you even spoke about last night. We're not talking about doing 75 hard or keto or something else, or intermittent fasting and so on and so forth. This is about making small changes on a week-to-week basis, and it's really driven towards a lifestyle change. And again, while you're significantly younger and also too much more athletic in many ways than myself, but also too believing that you had knowledge that this could succeed. Oh, it was fantastic. It was fantastic. And I think again, I'm finger quoting. I mean, I don't want to say it was maybe, I don't know the other people, but I said, at least it helped that I'm, again, a structured person to begin with. And again, that's a lot of where it starts, is being structured and being honest with yourself. But also too, that making sure that you were forgiving of me and I was forgiving of myself. And I think that's also important at times, because as you remember, there were times I had a couple significant life events happen to me during the 6 months. And it would be easy to, one, to go off the rails, but two, that even if you're trying to stay as true to possible as the program, those days I'm not going to get into 10,000 steps, or those days I'm not going to be able to get the meals, hit my protein goal or whatever, or my training in that day. That happens. But it's making sure that first and foremost, again, that I was being forgiving of myself, that I said, this is just one day and it's not going to erase all the hard work that I had done, because I think, as you often say, that I didn't put on all that weight in one day. Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing, so you were very understanding of the fact that some days those things happen, or some days, some weeks are different than others. And so you were not approaching me in a berating manner, but also, while supportive, making sure we're doing what we can to get back on track. I think just the straight up weight loss is too obvious. I think ultimately the win probably is and was understanding my own nutrition better, and seeing, again, as we said earlier, the protein goals, and that making sure that I am continuing to hit those. That's not going to be a win everybody's going to have their different wins. I mean, there was a different respect. I mean, maybe it's fitting into a pant size, or maybe it is running or a mile at a certain time. But I think that I will admit, though, that again, that my original goal was approximately 180 to get down to 180 pounds, which would have been, my starting weight was 208. So certainly that win was big. That the day that, after I think approximately 3 months-ish, I might have been closer to 2.5 months, but it said to have lost those 28 pounds. Mm-hmm. But then all of a sudden, that to see that, again, that while I wasn't necessarily chasing a lower number, that my body settled into something else with the continued work in nutrition. I would recommend it to anybody, certainly. That again, that I think that it's easy for me to say, but again, for anybody who is initially looking at the cost, I said everything's got a cost. But again, the way I looked at it was that I was buying an education that's good for the rest of my life, and I think that has a lot of value. I think that I would recommend it to anybody who's willing to be honest with themselves. This is something where you have to give yourself fully into the program and recognize that, again, it's a lifestyle change. You're not going to be able to sort of do the program buffet style. And this is not something, again, I know you tell the people following you on the Thursday night calls and even on your group calls on Tuesday night that they have to understand that this is just not just a one-off thing.